Fran Torsen here. I'm going to show you the anatomy of a letter I used for many, many years in Pennsylvania. This is a letter I used that I sent to people whose names I got off of the tax rolls. I'm going to show you the letter. I'll show you the anatomy of the letter, my thinking that went behind it, and then I'll take you over to a mind map and talk a little bit about some strategies, some things that you can keep in mind to make your own direct mail campaign work even better. And then I'll also show you some things that I would add to this if I was going to do it today. This particular letter that I'm showing you actually dates back to 2005. I used it from 1985 to 2005 with very, very little change. And in all of that time, it worked very, very well for me. So again, it's nothing fancy. There's nothing earth-shattering about this when you look at it, but it does have a really, really good response rate. And I am confident that if you use this in a similar fashion, you can have equal results or even better. So let's go through this. And let me show you exactly, how to construct this letter and how to use it, because I am providing a copy. Excuse me here. I am going to provide a copy of this Word document for you so that you can use it yourself. I've got some areas in red on this letter. Those are for areas that you should actually, fill in your own area information. I'm not suggesting that you make them red at any point. I think this should all be black, but let's go through this bit by bit and let me show you my thinking. So again, you will take the letter and then you'll put it on your own company letterhead. All right, the letter is dated. The date, of course, is the day that you're going to be sending the letter out. If you're going to be doing a letter campaign and you're going to be sending out a couple of hundred and you're going to be planning to mail it toward the end of the week, or like on a Friday, you're putting together your pieces on a Monday, put in the date that you're actually going to be mailing the letter. In these brackets here, I have property owner name, property owner address, city and state, and again, those are data fields that you're going to be importing from the tax rolls. One of the things you'll do is go to the tax rolls and get an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV file or some kind of a data file that you can use for a mail merge. All of my letters are personalized. There is absolutely no comparison between the results that you will get with a personalized letter versus sending something that does not have a person's name that says simply, "Dear property owner" or "Dear neighbor." That is absolutely critical. So, you can send out a letter that does that. Of course, that's a much easier way to do it, and there's there are some benefits attached to that. It's a little bit easier, but you're not going to get anywhere near the results that you will get with a personalized letter. So here I was working in Northampton County, Pennsylvania. Specify your county name and also put your state in parentheses here. You may find when you're working on the tax rolls and you're sending letters that there are property owners in many states around the country who may not be familiar with the name of your county necessarily. They may own properties in many, many places. In this case, they may have owned property in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, not really realizing that it was in Northampton County. People who own land in Tucson, may or may not be familiar with Pima County as the county of residence. When they own property outside. So be sure that you use that. That's a little tip there. Okay, so it says the Northampton County property records show that you own a property at, and then it has the address of the property. Again, this is a data field that you're going to be filling in with your mail merge. Again, don't do the red, but I do suggest that you put the property name in boldface. I think boldface is very, very important. It makes it stand out a little bit more. I'm working with a buyer. Now, in this case, this letter went out because I was looking for people who owned vacant land in a particular market area. This is actually the letter that I sent to the gentleman I talked about in my email, who got a couple of letters like this. He owned a couple of large parcels in Bangor, Pennsylvania. And when he received the letters, he did not call me because he was not interested at the time, but he held my letters for 5 years. And he called me after 5 years, and at that point I went up and listed the property. So that was quite interesting. So at any rate, when I was working with this particular letter, I remember I was working with a couple of people from the Philadelphia area who was looking for a rather large, secluded piece of land because they wanted to build a retreat, a very private retreat that actually they were looking to build a nudist retreat. I remember that. It was an interesting couple of folks to work with, and so I was searching for areas where there were large pieces of land that were private, that were wooded, that offered the possibility of building dwellings and recreational facilities that were off the road, that were out of sight, and again, it was a very interesting niche and a lot of fun. So at any rate, I said what I was doing. So when I sent the letter, I said, I'm working with a buyer who's interested, not interesting. I had a typo, goodness. Okay, who is interested in purchasing a property in the Nazareth area. The market for vacant land and for commercial investment properties has shown an appreciable gain in recent months. And at the time, there was a pretty nice gain that was happening there. You don't want to say that if it's not true. Okay, I mean, you may want to say things are steady. You may want to say something. Just make a remark about the market that is true. Okay, I'm not into hyping anything. I'm not into messaging this that says it's always the great time to buy, that things are always going up, because they're not. All right. The good news for sellers is, okay, investors like good alternatives to the stock market. And they do. I mean, this was 2005. I started using that line, shortly after 2011, when we started to see a lot of traffic in Pennsylvania, real estate traffic coming from New York after 9/11. Tax law limits capital gains. That's a line that I added to my letter after some capital gains legislation that reduced the amount of taxes that people had to pay when they had a gain. Okay, demand for farms is increasing, inventory of vacant land is low, and that was very, very true. I was looking for farmland. I was looking for that kind of a setting, and there was very, very little vacant land on the market, so that became a good opportunity for me to send a letter. If you're interested in selling this property and would like to discuss the specifics of a sale, please call me for an appointment or send the enclosed card. And I'll talk to you about that in a bit. I always included in my letters a postage paid reply card that people could send back to me if they were interested. So they didn't even have to pick up a phone. They would just put the card in the mail. There was a permit, and they were able to do that. That was always, always important. And a lot of my response came from those cards. Now I've got another section in bold here. It says, make it easy to sell your property. I have a system that lets me post seller listing and transaction reports online every day, giving sellers 24/7 access to information about each and every showing, feedback, advertising, and other information that is so valuable in the sale of property. Sellers may elect to receive a weekly or a monthly written report if they prefer this method. Now, if you've got a system like that, if you've got a paperless system and sellers can follow their transactions online, you include something like that. If they don't, well, of course, you don't write that. At the time, I was using Top Producer. Top Producer had a really superb system. I was also using Settlement Room for sales transactions, and that was very, very neat. So I put that in bold. All right. So. And then, okay, so maybe you've got people interested in selling, maybe you don't. So maybe you've got people who are interested in buying land, all right? So if, on the other hand, okay, you wish to increase your real estate holdings in the Lehigh Valley and would like information about any other property or types of properties, I would be happy to assist you with that as well. Ask me about my auto email system for properties and notice about them as soon as they come on the market. So, you've got people who own property who may be interested in selling. You may be reaching people who own property who would like to buy more of the same or more of some other type, and that covers you. With thanks, I remain very truly yours. Now, I've got a couple of telephone numbers down here. I've got one number that's a direct line where people can reach me, and I've got another number where people can leave a message. Now, that is, in the old days, it was an IVR, interactive voice response. These days, you don't have to pay that kind of money to have that kind of a message. But if somebody calls and leaves me a message on this number, that number will actually record the person's telephone number and add that person to a campaign, to an autoresponder campaign. I always had the URL to my website. A lot of people visited my website. What I would do differently now probably is I would make that domain a squeeze page, and I would send them to a .com address that's a squeeze page where people can leave some more information, and again, it's a way to reach out to them. Would I include a QR code in my letter? Absolutely. I mean, right now I would definitely do that. That QR code will direct them to the same squeeze page. Will everybody use a QR code? No. But maybe some people will. And what my thought is, people will take a look at that and say, oh, there's a QR code, and it gives them an excuse to scan it. Some people are still just getting used to scanning QR codes. They want to see what happens. What will happen when they scan that QR code is they'll be taken to a lead page, or you can send them right to your phone. You can do whatever you want, but I would send them to a lead page that is the same page that's right there. In the meantime, when they do that, the other thing that a person's going to think, who is a prospective seller, is, well, isn't that interesting? Isn't that an innovative way to reach somebody in a letter? And maybe that is a person who applies that kind of innovative marketing technique to properties as well. So there's the letter. Now we're going to take a run over, and we'll talk a little bit more about the strategies attached to using it effectively. Now let's talk a little bit more about how we can really use this letter. We'll talk a little bit about the purpose and exactly what you need to pull off a really, really super duper letter writing campaign, direct mail campaign. As far as purpose, all right, we've got a couple of things. We've got several things we can do with this letter. Number one is we can prospect for specific property types. If we're working with buyers who are looking for special kinds of properties, you can go to the tax rolls and you can get a list of people who own properties just like that. And that's a great thing to do. You can use iterations and different variations of this letter for a just listed campaign. I know a lot of people like to use postcards in a just listed campaign. I liked to use letters better because I had a really good response rate. I used to pop that postcard into every single one, and people would send them back. So the letters are a little bit more time consuming to put together. They're a little bit more expensive, but the response rate is just much, much better. Same thing with just solds. You have some really good opportunities to work with a just sold campaign, and I think that's a great thing to do with something like this letter. You can also do a lot of random types of prospecting as well. Imagine going to searching your tax rolls for every seller that had the word bank in the name, and finding lots of bankers or different types of institutions, financial institutions that are note holders on property. So that becomes a really interesting way to prospect REOs. I did a lot of that for a while, way before the foreclosure thing happened. Before there was a tsunami. I was doing this going back into the 90s, for goodness sake. So you can use that kind of a letter for general prospecting for pretty much anything. And what do you need actually? What are the pieces of this campaign that are the most important? And I've got a number of things. Most of this is stuff that I've done. Every now and then you'll see the little word new, and that means I didn't use it myself, but I would use it now if I could. So you need the letter. You need a letter to create a campaign. I think a postcard, as I say, a postcard that you insert in the letter that people can use to get back to you, to ask you for more information, is a very, very non-threatening and easy way for people to get back to you, and it works very, very well. You need a list of names, and you need some lead capture. As far as the names, of course, the easiest thing I think is just to go to the tax records. The tax records are usually available, for some kind of downloadable form through your multiple listing service. You may be able to work with your local title agent who may give you a list, that is already broken down and segmented and targeted in a way that you want. I know in Arizona, Title agents are doing that, and that is just phenomenal. I mean, they do an amazing amount of service for realtors in that regard. I mean, you can get other names, you can buy lists, you can do other ways, but I think the tax record is the simplest and the easiest. Okay, and then we've, then the whole notion of lead capture. So, what do you do to actually capture the names and connect with buyers? And you'll see here, some of these things. I used the postcard, and I didn't use all of this stuff. So I imagine that if I was doing the same campaign right now, and I know that other people are, they're incorporating these elements, and you can have some remarkable results. First and foremost, you want a telephone number so that people can reach you. You can have a telephone number, of course, for them to call you, and that's the best way to reach you. Oh, here we go. We've got actually some types here. I had a little thing I could click. Okay, so that's direct, and that is the best way for people to reach you. You can have a recorded message, and you can have a number for a recorded message on your letter, on your postcard, where people can call for information. That might be something that you want to use with a niche. I used to have a recorded message on a number on my postcards that was a hotline about HUD homes. And this went back way, 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 way back to the early 90s, before HUD homes were even on the internet, before they were even in the multi-list. And people could call for a list of all the HUD homes in the area, and every week I would update that with with a list and the price of all of the HUD homes in the Lehigh Valley, and that was it. But you can do a recorded message about anything. If you have a recorded message number that's part of a lead capture system, then when people call the number, their number is left, and they have an opportunity to leave their email address and other information as well, and even to leave you a voicemail. So recorded message lead capture is a great thing to do. You've also got mobile text campaigns now. That's brand new. You can work in some autoresponders into your lead capture campaign, and that could be used very, very effectively. And if you follow stuff that I do, you'll see I do a lot of work with SMS autoresponders, and even initiate some interactive SMS autoresponders that create appointments before you ever pick up the phone and connect with anybody one-on-one, and that can be a lot of fun. So telephone's still a very, very key way of reaching people. Using a squeeze page is also a great thing to do. Again, if you have that domain name and you're sending somebody to a page that collects their name and email address, that person becomes a candidate in your sales funnel, and you can start to send them other stuff, other information, and other information that they will find useful, and that will be a call to action to do business with you one of these days. Okay, and sooner than later. You can create a lead magnet, and that's we're going to talk a lot about that at some point in time very, very soon here. And I do work when I create campaigns for real estate agents. A lead magnet is something that people want to use because it makes them do their job better, or it makes them do, a lead magnet would be a special report about HUD homes for people buying HUD homes. You hear me talk a lot about HUD homes because I really like HUD homes and I like that market. You can have a special report about anything. You can have a special report about staging. The lead magnet doesn't have to be a special report. It can be a video. It can be a lot of things behind a squeeze page. So what the squeeze page does is it makes a promise to deliver a lead magnet, and once the person gives you an email address, then you deliver the lead magnet. So whether that's a special report or a video or whatever, a lead magnet is a great way to make your website more productive in terms of delivering leads and building your list. You want to be building your list, and again, working with referrals and having people think about you whenever they think about that. You've got to have a follow-up campaign. A follow-up campaign is critical. Because that's the way you keep in touch with people. You keep in touch with them, and what do you need in your follow-up campaign? All right. You have email autoresponders, and email autoresponders that you can set at, for delivery at certain intervals of time. If you have a number of campaigns to be dealing with different types of people who are interested in a certain type of a niche. You might have a HUD Homes campaign. You might have a special campaign for sale by owners, a special campaign for real estate investors, and all sorts of things. You may also have separate campaigns for people who are looking at property, but they're probably not going to buy for 6 months or a year, versus the kind of campaign that you're going to use for somebody who's a really hot prospect who's ready to buy now. So you're going to design an email campaign or work with an out-of-the-box email campaign and tailor it to your own needs. You can work with SMS text autoresponders, and again, that is absolutely a really neat thing to do right now. People always look at their text messages. 97, 98% of people all look at their text messages. They all listen to their voicemail. There's some great direct-to-voicemail technology that lets you send people messages right to their voicemail, or you can just send it right to their phone when they answer it. So, telephone technology and telephone messaging technology is great these days. Webinars are great, in a follow-up campaign. If you, do webinars, you don't have to always do them live these days anymore. There's a new type of webinar technology that's called automated webinar technology that you can use in real estate. I think a lot more people should be doing this. I don't see people doing it yet, but you can have a first-time homebuyer webinar for people. You can do it once live, or you don't ever have to do it live, but you can create a video and use some super automated webinar technology that really gives a simulated experience of being there live, and it's very, very cool stuff. And of course, surveys in a follow-up campaign. So surveys are tools that you want to use every time you've closed a deal. Those are tools that you want to use when you're working with buyers to assess people's needs, to see what their aspirations are, what kind of outcomes they're looking for. How happy they are with your own service. So, we're going to talk a lot about surveys in the days to come. If you have opted into this video, you'll be getting a webinar invitation soon with one of the best survey experts in the world. Her name is Jeannie Hurlburt, and she's going to be talking about how to use surveys in real estate, and I'm really excited about that. So that's follow-up campaigns. And then again, QR codes. I touched on that a little bit over at the letter. QR codes can be used in many, many ways. They're great lead capture. You can put them on flyers, real estate flyers. You can put them in your letters. You can put them on postcards. You can put them in lots of places. And does everybody use them? No, but some people do. And I think they're a great thing to do. So that is my thought about lead capture. And I look forward to talking to you again soon. So let me know how you do with the letter. Please, feel free to drop me a line. Let me know what works, what's working, what's not working, and we'll be in touch. And I'll see you on the other side with more real soon.